Good morning, my dear friends. When we speak of intelligence, we often speak of the mind's capacity, knowledge, sharpness. But true intelligence is not just about what you know, it's about how you live, how you respond to life. Today, let's explore 6 signs of a stupid woman, but please, don't rush to point fingers at someone else. First, see if any of these are alive within you, because transformation begins only when you hold up the mirror to yourself. Remember, stupidity is not permanent. It's just a refusal to look, a refusal to learn. Let's look deeper. It begins early, you see. From childhood, a girl may be praised when she smiles sweetly, when she behaves nicely, when she looks pretty in a new dress. Little by little, she learns that to receive affection, attention, or approval, she must meet the expectations placed upon her by others, parents, teachers, friends, and later, society at large. She is rewarded when she pleases and ignored or criticized when she steps outside the script. As this pattern deepens, something dangerous happens. She begins to derive her sense of worth not from the simple fact of being alive, not from her own natural aliveness and intelligence, but from the reactions she gets from people around her. Without realizing it, she becomes a seeker, but not a seeker of truth or wisdom or experience. She becomes a seeker of approval. Every action, every word, even the way she dresses or speaks, becomes calculated to draw the gaze of others. Now, why do I call this stupidity? Not because these women lack intelligence or capability. No, they may be highly educated, even brilliant in certain ways. But when you allow your inner experience, your sense of worth, your joy, your contentment to depend on something so fragile, so changing, so unreliable as other people's opinions, you have placed your life on very shaky ground. It is like building a palace on a sand dune. No matter how magnificent it looks, it is destined to sink. When you crave validation, you become a slave, though there are no visible chains. You will dance when someone claps for you. You will shrink when they frown. You will feel beautiful only when someone compliments you, and you will feel worthless if they do not notice you at all. Your moods, your self-image, even your decisions will no longer belong to you. They will belong to whoever happens to be in front of you, whoever has the power to approve or disapprove. What is the price of such a life? It is enormous. First, you lose touch with your own inner compass. You no longer ask yourself, what is right for me? What feels true? What brings genuine joy or meaning to my life? Instead, you ask, what will make them like me? What will make me look good? What will they think of me if I do this or that? In trying to please everyone, you will lose yourself. You will become a shifting mask, an actor constantly adjusting to the audience. Second, you waste precious energy. Seeking validation is exhausting. It requires constant effort, constant performance. You are forever polishing the surface, trying to present a perfect image, fearing that if you falter or show your raw, unfiltered self, you will lose approval. Imagine how much creative power, how much joy, how much growth is sacrificed just to keep up appearances. Third, and perhaps most tragically, you invite suffering into your life. You hand over the keys to your emotional state to the outside world, which means you are always at its mercy. You cannot control what people think, say, or feel about you, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Even if you win their praise today, it may turn into criticism tomorrow. Even if you impress them now, they may soon forget you. This instability creates anxiety, insecurity, and a constant background fear. What if I am not enough? What if I lose their love or admiration? Now you may ask, is it wrong to enjoy appreciation or compliments? No, certainly not. It is perfectly natural to feel happy when someone recognizes your efforts or expresses affection. But the question is, are you dependent on it? Do you need it in order to feel okay about yourself? Can you stand steady when there is no applause? Can you walk your path even if no one is watching? An intelligent woman learns early or late, but hopefully sooner, that real strength comes not from outside, but from within. She understands that the one person whose approval truly matters is herself. She begins to cultivate a relationship with her own heart, her own body, her own being. She starts to ask, am I living in a way that feels true to me? Am I honoring my own nature, my own aspirations? Am I moving toward what I truly care about, or am I only moving toward what will make others like me? This shift is profound. It does not mean you stop caring about people, or that you become arrogant or self-centered. It means you stop depending on the external world to feed your sense of worth. You begin to live with a kind of quiet confidence, a steady flame inside. You can accept appreciation with grace, but you are not shattered by disapproval. You can enjoy company, but you are not terrified of being alone. You can listen to advice, but you are not lost without constant guidance. Let me give you a small example. Imagine a woman walking into a room full of people. One woman is deeply anxious. Will they like my dress? Will they think I am smart enough? Will they find me attractive? Her whole presence is tied up in how she imagines others are judging her. Another woman walks in with ease. She knows who she is comfortable in her own skin, and she is not measuring herself against anyone else. She is open to connecting, but she does not need approval to feel whole. Which woman do you think radiates true beauty, true strength? We must understand, when you are no longer a beggar for validation, you become free. You begin to act out of your own clarity, your own wisdom. You begin to create, to contribute to love without fear. You are no longer performing for the world you are living. And here is the ultimate truth. The world respects this. People are drawn to those who are steady in themselves. When you do not crave attention, you often receive more of it. When you stop chasing love, it tends to come more naturally. This is the paradox. When you no longer need validation, you are actually more magnetic, more powerful, more alive. So if you recognize within yourself this craving, do not despair. Just see it without judgment. Awareness itself begins to dissolve the habit. Start building a relationship with yourself, not based on performance or perfection, but on simple presence. Spend time alone, explore your own interests, discover what moves your spirit, and watch how gradually you begin to stand taller, not because someone told you to, but because you are rooted in your own being. Let us take a little time today to look into something that consumes far too much human life, yet is so common that most people no longer even notice it. This is the tendency to create unnecessary drama, to make life more tangled, more emotional, more intense than it naturally needs to be. Many people, especially women, though not only women, become entangled in this without realizing it. And I want to be clear, it is not because they are bad people or because they deliberately wish to make life difficult. It is simply because they have not learned to see the patterns they are caught in. You must understand, life in itself is very simple. There is a body, there is breath, there is food, there is relationship, there is work, there is nature. But the human mind has the unique capacity to take what is simple and weave it into great complexity. This is both a gift and a trap. The gift is that we can create art, music, poetry, and great civilizations. The trap is that we can also create enormous amounts of suffering, conflict, and noise inside our own heads and in our relationships. For many women, this shows up as a certain addiction to drama. When things are calm, when things are flowing smoothly, they feel uneasy, restless. There is a certain emptiness they want to fill, and so, without even being conscious of it, they create emotional turbulence. They pick unnecessary fights, they stir up gossip, they magnify small issues into major crises, they imagine slights and betrayals where none exist, and they make everything bigger and more charged than it needs to be. Why does this happen? You see, many people have never been taught how to sit quietly with themselves. Silence frightens them. Calmness feels like boredom. Simplicity feels like emptiness. And so they look for stimulation, excitement, emotional ups and downs to feel alive. But this is a very costly way to feel alive. It drains their energy, strains their relationships, and leaves them feeling exhausted, anxious, and often dissatisfied, even when they are surrounded by love, comfort, and opportunity. We must understand, when you constantly generate drama, you are using up enormous amounts of life force on things that lead nowhere. You burn through your energy, your attention, your emotional capacity on waves that rise and crash, but take you no closer to anything meaningful. Imagine a boat in a stormy sea. It is busy, it is tossed about, it is drenched and battered, but it is not moving toward any destination. This is what drama does to your life. It keeps you endlessly busy but stagnant. It gives you the illusion of movement, of passion, of intensity, but it does not build anything real. Now, some women believe that without this kind of emotional storm, relationships will become flat and dead. They have the idea that passion requires conflict, that love requires jealousy or possessiveness, that closeness comes through fighting and making up. But this is simply an immature understanding of what love and connection are. Real intimacy, real connection, does not thrive on constant friction. It thrives on openness, trust, patience, and the ability to share both joy and stillness. If you only feel close to someone when you are fighting or making up, you are mistaking emotional turmoil for depth. It is like confusing a firecracker for a steady flame. Other women may create drama because they have learned somewhere along the way that this is how they can get attention. Perhaps as children, they noticed that when they were calm and content, nobody paid much attention, but when they were upset, people came running. Perhaps in past relationships, they found that if they exaggerated their emotions, they could manipulate people into giving them what they wanted. Over time, this becomes a habit, a strategy, but it is one that ultimately backfires. People may respond to your crises and your demands for a while, but eventually they become tired, resentful, or numb. Drama-driven relationships are fragile because they are not built on mutual respect or genuine connection, but on a constant dance of control and reaction. And of course, some people are drawn into other people's drama, even if they do not create it themselves. They become addicted to gossip, to other people's scandals, to the constant flow of who did what, who said what, who betrayed whom. This, too, is a way of avoiding one's own life. It is much easier to be caught up in someone else's mess than to face the quiet challenges of your own growth, your own aspirations, your own inner world. If you want to live intelligently, you must become very conscious of how you use your energy and attention. Ask yourself honestly, are you creating unnecessary emotional noise? Are you making small issues big? Are you adding layers of interpretation, suspicion, or judgment to situations that could be handled simply? Are you feeding conflict where peace is possible? Are you seeking excitement through chaos because you are afraid of calm? This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending that everything is fine when it is not. It is about learning the difference between what is necessary and what is unnecessary. Sometimes a situation truly requires a strong emotional response, a confrontation, a deep reckoning. But many times we are simply inflating our reactions because we do not know how to let go. We hold on to grievances, we replay old hurts, we dramatize minor setbacks, we turn every misunderstanding into a catastrophe. This is where intelligence must come in. An intelligent woman learns to conserve her energy for what matters. She does not squander her peace on every passing irritation. She knows when to speak up and when to stay silent, when to engage and when to walk away. She does not need the constant highs and lows of drama to feel alive, because she has found a deeper aliveness within herself. She understands that the most beautiful moments in life are often simple, quiet, and undramatic. A moment of connection, a shared laugh, a task completed well, a sunrise, a silent presence. If you find that you are caught in cycles of drama, do not blame yourself or feel ashamed. Simply begin to watch. Notice when you are making things bigger than they are. Notice when you are drawn into unnecessary conflicts or stories. Notice when you are using emotional turbulence as a way to feel important or alive. With awareness, you can begin to make different choices. In the end, life is short and your energy is precious. Do not waste it on storms that you create yourself. Choose simplicity, choose clarity, choose peace not because you are suppressing life, but because you are refining it. The absence of unnecessary drama is not emptiness, it is freedom. Today, let us explore something delicate but important, the habit of playing the victim. It is a pattern many people fall into, often without even realizing it. And while it may seem harmless or even justified on the surface, it quietly eats away at one's strength, one's freedom, and one's possibilities in life. You see, every one of us, without exception, faces challenges, difficulties, and painful moments. There is no life that has only sweetness. There is loss, there is betrayal, there is disappointment, there is failure. No one escapes this, not the rich, not the poor, not the educated, not the simple, not the young, not the old. Life touches everyone with its unpredictability. But how you hold what happens to you that makes all the difference. There is a very big difference between having suffered and identifying as a victim. Suffering is a passing experience. Being a victim is a permanent role, a fixed identity. When you begin to think of yourself as a victim, you no longer see your life as something you can shape. You see yourself as someone to whom life is always happening, someone powerless, someone at the mercy of others, someone waiting to be rescued or compensated or recognized for their pain. Many women, without meaning to, take on this identity. Perhaps they have been mistreated, underestimated, or wounded in some way. Perhaps life has been unfair, and let us be clear, life can be very unfair. But if you carry the label of victim on your forehead, if you wear it like a badge on your chest, you trap yourself in a loop of helplessness. You start to tell and retell stories of what was done to you, how others wronged you, how the world has been hard on you. And with each repetition, you strengthen the bars of your own cage. Why does this happen? Often, people fall into the victim role because it brings a strange kind of comfort. When you are the victim, you do not have to take full responsibility for your life. You can blame others, your family, your partner, society, fate, or even the universe for your problems. You can demand sympathy, attention, and special treatment. You can excuse your inaction or your failures by pointing to your wounds. It feels easier, in a way, than standing up and saying, yes, life has been difficult, but what can I do now? But what you must understand is that the victim identity comes with a very high cost. When you cling to it, you are handing over your power. You are saying, I am not the author of my life. I am just the reader of a tragic story someone else wrote. And as long as you believe this, you will not take the steps you need to change, to heal, to grow, to build something new. You will wait for others to change. Wait for the past to be undone. Wait for some cosmic justice that may never come. In this waiting, years can pass, opportunities can slip away, relationships can wither, dreams can dry up. There is another danger here. When you habitually see yourself as a victim, you begin to distort reality. You start to see harm or insult even where there is none. You become sensitive to imagined slights, you overinterpret people's words or actions, you expect betrayal, and sometimes you even provoke it. Why? Because when your sense of self is tied to being wronged, you unconsciously look for situations that reinforce that identity. Without realizing it, you pull yourself again and again into the very patterns you claim to hate. This does not mean that genuine harm or injustice should be ignored. No, not at all. If someone mistreats you, you must stand up, set boundaries, seek justice where possible. But there is a difference between addressing harm and becoming attached to the idea of yourself as a powerless, broken person. One leads to action and resolution, the other leads to endless rumination and stagnation. An intelligent woman, when faced with hardship, grief, or injustice, allows herself to feel the pain fully. She does not suppress it, she does not pretend everything is fine, but she does not stay in that place forever. She asks, what can I learn? What can I change? What is still within my power? Even in the darkest situation, she holds on to the truth that she has agency, maybe not over the world, but over her response, over her next step, over her own inner state. You may have heard the saying, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. What does this mean? Pain is the sharp sting of life's events, a loss, a rejection, a failure. Suffering is what we build on top of that pain, the stories, the blame, the identification, the endless replaying of the event in our minds. Pain passes, suffering lingers, often because we cling to it. And the victim identity is one of the most common ways people prolong their suffering unnecessarily. Let me tell you something that may seem harsh, but is ultimately liberating. No one else can rescue you from this. Yes, others can support you, love you, comfort you. But the fundamental shift from seeing yourself as a victim to seeing yourself as a creator of your life, that can only come from within. You must decide that you are more than what has happened to you. You must choose to stop waiting for someone to fix you, someone to make up for the past, someone to rewrite your story. This does not mean ignoring your past, but it means putting it in its proper place. The past is over. You cannot go back and make it different. But you can choose what you carry forward. You can choose which lessons to keep, which wounds to heal, which identities to shed. You can decide right now to stand up taller, to walk forward even with scars, to create something beautiful not despite your past, but because of it. When you drop the victim identity, you may feel a strange emptiness at first. You may think, if I am not the wronged one, then who am I? But if you stay with it, you will discover something extraordinary. You are free. You are no longer bound to a fixed script. You can laugh again, take risks again, trust again. You are no longer defined by what was done to you, but by what you choose to become. So, if you recognize the victim habit in yourself, do not scold yourself or fall into guilt. That is just another trap. Simply notice it. Notice when you are rehearsing old stories, when you are looking for sympathy instead of solutions, when you are giving away your power, and gently, steadily begin to shift. Start small. Take one action today that reminds you that you are not powerless. Make one choice that moves you out of the past and into the present. Life will still be challenging. People will still disappoint you sometimes. But you will meet life not as a victim, but as a participant, as a creator, as a living, breathing force of nature. And that, my friend, is the beginning of true freedom. You see, human life is not just about survival. It is not just about getting through the day, earning a living, managing family matters, or fulfilling obligations. Those things are necessary, but they are not the point. The true possibility of human life lies in how much you can evolve, how deeply you can understand, how fully you can bring forth the potential that is locked within you. Every one of us arrives into this world with a body and a mind, but these are only raw materials. What we make of them, how much we refine them, strengthen them, sharpen them, that is up to us. Unfortunately, many people, especially women, are conditioned to focus so much on the needs of others that they leave themselves behind. From a young age, they are taught to care for family, to be attentive to relationships, to fulfill duties, all of which are beautiful things, no doubt, but they are rarely encouraged to grow for their own sake. They are rarely told you must cultivate yourself, not because anyone demands it, but because you deserve to blossom into the fullest version of yourself. Neglecting personal growth is not simply about failing to study books or earn degrees. It is a deeper forgetting, a forgetting that you are meant to expand, not just exist. You are meant to challenge your own limitations, to widen your understanding, to deepen your awareness, to strengthen your capacity. This is not about becoming someone else or proving yourself to the world. It is about living as fully as you can, because that is the joy of being human. When you neglect your own growth, you start to wither, often without even realizing it. You fall into routines, you repeat the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same stories, year after year. You lose curiosity, you stop questioning, you stop reaching for new experiences or insights. Slowly, life becomes smaller, narrower. You become impatient, dissatisfied, perhaps even resentful, not because the world is against you, but because you have stopped expanding. And when you stop expanding, you start feeling trapped. Some people avoid personal growth because they believe it is selfish. They think, I must give all my time to my children, to my partner, to my work. I have no right to focus on myself. But let us be clear, you cannot truly give to others if you are running on empty. You cannot nurture others if you have neglected your own inner development. A stagnant mind, a heart heavy with unaddressed wounds, a body dulled by disconnection, these cannot be the foundation for vibrant relationships or meaningful contribution. Only when you are growing, when you are alive and learning, can you truly uplift the people around you. Other people avoid growth because they fear discomfort. To grow is to stretch, to leave the familiar, to face the unknown. It requires you to confront your own ignorance, your own blind spots, your own weaknesses. It demands effort, humility, and courage. But look at nature, everything that is alive is in a process of constant change. A tree does not stop growing because the winds are harsh or the soil is rocky. It keeps reaching upward because that is its nature. In the same way, the human spirit is meant to grow even when it is difficult, even when it is uncertain. Some women tell themselves, it's too late for me to grow, to learn, to change. They think growth is only for the young, only for students, only for people with free time. But this is a sad misunderstanding. Growth is not tied to age or occupation or stage of life. A woman of 70 can begin learning something new and feel more alive than a woman of 20 who has closed herself off. Growth is a matter of spirit, not schedule. It begins the moment you say, I am still open, I am still curious, I am still willing to unfold. Let us also remember that personal growth is not limited to formal education or professional skills. It includes emotional growth, learning to navigate your feelings with greater wisdom. It includes relational growth, learning to communicate more openly, to listen more deeply, to love more fully. It includes spiritual growth, learning to sit quietly with yourself, to observe your own mind, to touch something beyond the surface of things. It includes physical growth, learning to care for your body, to treat it as the precious instrument it is. When you neglect these aspects, life may seem busy, even overwhelming, but it will not feel rich. You may be surrounded by tasks, by people, by noise, but inside you will feel a certain hunger, a certain dullness, a certain restlessness. That hunger is not for more things to do or more people to please. It is the hunger for your own evolution. It is the call of your own potential, waiting to be awakened. If you recognize this in yourself, do not fall into guilt or regret. That is just another trap of the mind. Simply begin here and now to turn your attention inward. Ask yourself, what have I been postponing? What have I been avoiding? What part of myself have I neglected because I was too busy, too afraid, too distracted? The answers may come quietly, or they may hit you with surprising force. Either way, listen. Once you begin to prioritize your own growth, even in small ways, you will notice a shift. You will feel more energy, more clarity, more openness. You will start to experience life not just as a series of tasks to complete, but as a field of discovery. You will become more interesting to yourself, more resilient, more capable. And from that place, you will have so much more to offer to the world around you. In the end, to neglect your personal growth is to waste the most precious gift you have, your own unfolding. The world does not need more people running on empty, repeating old patterns, shrinking themselves to fit into roles or expectations. The world needs women who are alive, aware, and awake. Women who are committed not just to surviving, but to thriving. Women who are willing to meet themselves fully and bring forth the best of what they are. So, if you have been asleep to your own growth, this is your invitation. Wake up. Not tomorrow, not next year, but now. Choose to learn, to stretch, to deepen. Choose to honor the incredible possibility of being human. Choose to live in a way that, when you look back, you can say, I did not waste this life. I grew, I learned, I became. Let us take a quiet, careful look today at the matter of appearance, the human face, the human body, the way we present ourselves to the world. This is an area where much energy is spent, much thought is devoted, and often much suffering is created. There is nothing wrong with wanting to look good, let us be clear. To care for the body, to keep it clean, to adorn it in a way that feels beautiful, this is part of human culture everywhere. Across time, people have found joy in colors, fabrics, ornaments, fragrances, hairstyles, and decoration. It is natural to delight in these things, to enjoy the beauty of form, but the problem arises when one's entire sense of worth, one's entire sense of identity, becomes tied only to the surface. The body is only one layer of who we are. It is the most visible layer, the most obvious, but it is also the most temporary and the most limited. If you become so fixated on this outer shell that you forget the vastness within you, you have reduced yourself to something very small. You have taken the full, living, mysterious presence that you are with your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, your potential, your consciousness, and squeezed it down to skin, hair, weight, shape, clothing, accessories. This is a tragic reduction. When a woman becomes preoccupied only with her appearance, she traps herself in an endless and ultimately unwinnable game. Why? Because the standards of beauty set by the world are ever changing and often impossible. One year it is this body shape, the next year another. One decade it is this skin tone, another decade a different one. Trends shift, fashions change, the media invents new ideals, and the moment you think you have arrived, the standard moves again. Moreover, the body itself is in a constant state of change. You can try to freeze your appearance with cosmetics, surgeries, treatments, but aging, illness, and time will continue their work. No one escapes this. So if your entire self-worth rests on the body, you are building your house on sand. The tides will come and you will be swept away. It is also worth noticing that when you focus only on how you look, you create anxiety. You begin to monitor yourself constantly. How do others see me? What do they think of me? Am I good enough? Am I desirable enough? Am I impressive enough? This self-surveillance is exhausting. It drains your mental energy, distracts you from the present moment, and makes you hyper, sensitive to judgment or rejection. Even when you receive praise or admiration, it offers only temporary relief, because the next moment you begin worrying again, how long can I maintain this? This is not just about vanity. It is about fear, the fear that without beauty, without attractiveness, you are nothing. This fear is carefully cultivated by social pressures, advertising, entertainment, and sometimes even by family or peers. But the truth is, no matter how perfect you look by external standards, if you do not know the deeper dimension of who you are, you will remain restless, insecure, unfulfilled. You will continue to chase approval, not because you are vain, but because you are empty inside. There is also another danger here. When you focus only on external appearance, you risk neglecting the cultivation of the qualities that truly make life meaningful: kindness, intelligence, creativity, wisdom, humor, strength, resilience, depth of character. These are the qualities that nourish relationships, that enrich communities, that bring true satisfaction. But they require time, attention, and effort to develop. If all your energy goes into polishing the surface, the deeper aspects of yourself remain undernourished. Over time, this creates a hollowness, a sense that something essential is missing, even if on the outside everything looks polished. We live in a world that bombards women especially with the message that their value lies in being pleasing to the eye. This is an ancient pattern, but it has intensified in the age of social media, where every image can be edited, filtered, and curated for maximum impact. The result is that many women from a very young age begin to measure themselves against impossible images, comparing their real, living selves to digital illusions. This creates not only dissatisfaction, but often a deep alienation from one's own body, as if the body is no longer a living companion but a project, a battlefield, a thing to control or fix or display. But your body is not a display object. It is your home, your vehicle, your partner in experience. It is through this body that you sense, move, love, create, express live. To treat it only as an ornament is to insult its deeper purpose. To care for it wisely, to honor its needs, to appreciate its miraculous workings, this is beautiful. But to reduce it to an object for others' gaze, or even for your own judgmental gaze, is to miss the point entirely. True beauty is not something you can manufacture on the surface. It radiates from within. Have you not seen this? There are people whose features may not fit conventional standards, whose bodies may be marked by age or illness or hardship, and yet when they walk into a room, they shine. Their presence has a warmth, a depth, a magnetism that no makeup or clothing could create. Why? Because they are fully alive, fully present, fully themselves. They are not anxious about how they appear. They are focused on how they are. If you want to feel beautiful, begin by tending to your inner state. Cultivate clarity, joy, openness, compassion. When you are at peace inside, when your heart is soft and your mind is steady, this will naturally reflect in your face, in your gestures, in your way of being. And this kind of beauty does not fade. It deepens over time. It is not wrong to enjoy fashion, to play with style, to take pleasure in your appearance. But let it be play, not a prison. Let it be an expression of who you are, not a substitute for who you are. Let it serve your joy, not your fear. So if you find yourself caught in the trap of focusing only on external appearance, take a gentle pause, step back and ask yourself, what am I neglecting inside? What part of me needs attention, not because others will admire it, but because I need it for my own fullness? What have I been postponing in terms of my growth, my passions, my dreams, my learning? The surface will always change, no matter how much you try to control it. But the deeper you go within yourself, the more stable, the more radiant, the more unshakable you become. And from that place, even the surface will glow not with artificial shine, but with real, living beauty. Let us take a quiet and sincere moment to reflect on one of the most profound aspects of human life, our relationships. Every one of us is shaped deeply by the people we choose to surround ourselves with, our friends, our partners, our companions, our family. Relationships can elevate us, strengthen us, inspire us, and help us become more than we ever imagined. But they can also, sadly, keep us small, limit us, and weaken the very spirit that longs to unfold within us. Why is it that so often people, especially women, remain in relationships that diminish them? Why do they stay with people who belittle their dreams, suppress their potential, or reinforce their fears? This is not a question to judge or criticize anyone. It is a question to understand the subtle dynamics of human nature and the deep need we all have for connection, belonging, and love. Many women, from a young age, are conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to being wanted, to being chosen, to being approved of. There is often a deep hunger to be loved, to be accepted, to have someone by their side. And in that hunger, sometimes they compromise, sometimes they choose relationships not because those relationships uplift them, but because they provide a sense of safety, familiarity, or identity. You see, it is entirely possible to be in a relationship where you are constantly shrinking yourself. You may hold back your opinions, your ambitions, your desires, just to avoid conflict or disapproval. You may tell yourself, if I make myself smaller, if I stay quiet, if I don't reach too high, they will continue to love me, they will continue to stay. This is a painful trap, but it is one that many fall into because of fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of being rejected, the fear of stepping into the unknown. But let us be clear, any relationship that requires you to shrink yourself is not a healthy or sacred relationship. Any relationship where your light must be dimmed so someone else feels more comfortable is not serving your growth. The purpose of love is not to limit each other, it is to liberate each other. True love sees you not just as you are now, but as you can become, and it encourages you to grow into that possibility, even if it is challenging, even if it means change. Many women stay in relationships that keep them small because they confuse comfort with love. Just because someone is familiar does not mean they are good for your soul. Just because someone offers you attention or affection does not mean they honor your highest self. We must learn to distinguish between relationships that merely fill our time or soothe our loneliness, and relationships that genuinely nourish our spirit. Another reason women stay in limiting relationships is because they have internalized the belief that they are not worthy of more. They think, "Who am I to want something greater? Who am I to deserve a partner who celebrates my strength, who supports my dreams, who challenges me to rise?" This is the voice of self-doubt, the voice of old wounds, the voice of cultural messages that tell women to be humble, to be self-sacrificing, to put others first. But humility does not mean erasing yourself. Generosity does not mean abandoning yourself. Love does not mean staying small. Let us also understand that relationships are not just about romance. This applies to friendships, family connections, and even professional partnerships. Any connection that consistently drains your energy, erodes your confidence, or discourages your growth needs to be examined. You do not have to cut people out of your life with harshness or anger, but you do have a responsibility to yourself to recognize when a relationship is no longer aligned with your well-being. Sometimes women stay small in relationships because they carry the hope that if they just wait a little longer, if they just try a little harder, the other person will change. They think, if I am patient, if I am good, if I am loving enough, they will stop holding me back, they will stop criticizing me, they will stop fearing my strength. But waiting for someone else to change while you hold yourself back is a dangerous game. It postpones your own growth indefinitely. The truth is, every relationship is a mirror. It shows you something about yourself, your patterns, your fears, your needs, your aspirations. But not every mirror reflects your highest self. Some mirrors are distorted, some only show your flaws, some only remind you of your weaknesses. You have to choose carefully which mirrors you stand before, because over time you start to believe what you see. When you choose relationships that uplift you, that challenge you to rise, that support your transformation, you become more alive, more creative, more courageous. You find yourself stretching in ways you never imagined. You begin to dream bigger, to love deeper, to live more fully. And when you do this, you do not just uplift yourself, you uplift the world around you. But when you remain in relationships that keep you small, you carry a quiet sadness, even if you don't admit it. You know, somewhere deep inside, that you are holding back. You know that you are meant for more, and that unfulfilled knowing creates a kind of restlessness, a kind of ache, a kind of dullness that no amount of surface comfort can erase. So, the invitation here is not to judge yourself for past choices or to condemn the people in your life. The invitation is simply to reflect, with honesty and compassion, are my relationships helping me become the fullest, most authentic version of myself? Am I encouraged to grow, to speak, to shine, to evolve? Or am I subtly pressured to stay the same, to hide my brilliance, to conform to someone else's expectations? If you find that you are surrounded by relationships that keep you small, know that you have the power to begin shifting that dynamic. You can start by speaking your truth more openly, by pursuing your interests more boldly, by setting boundaries more firmly. You can start by seeking out people who see your greatness and want to see more of it. And you can start, most importantly, by honoring your own journey, even if it means walking part of that path alone for a while. Remember, you are not born to fit into someone else's limited idea of who you should be. You were born to unfold the unique potential that exists within you, to discover the richness of life, to offer your gifts freely and fully. Choose relationships that honor that. Choose connections that help you rise. Choose love that liberates, not love that confines. We have spoken at length today about the kinds of relationships that can either uplift us or hold us back, about the ways we sometimes, knowingly or unknowingly, choose connections that keep us small, that reinforce our fears rather than our strengths. But let us not end this reflection with a sense of heaviness or regret. Let us end it with clarity, with possibility, and with a sense of profound responsibility for our own lives. Every one of us, no matter where we are in life, no matter what we have been through, holds the power to choose the direction of our growth. We are not prisoners of our past. We are not bound forever to the patterns or relationships we have lived in up until now. At every moment, there is an invitation, a subtle but real invitation to wake up, to see more clearly, to step more fully into the truth of who we are. When you look honestly at your relationships, you may realize there are places where you have been making yourself small, where you have been sacrificing your own voice, your own dreams, your own growth, in exchange for approval or comfort or a sense of belonging. This realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. Why? Because once you see it, you can no longer pretend you are powerless. Once you see it, you have a choice, and this choice is not necessarily about walking away or breaking ties. It is, first and foremost, about changing the posture of your own being. It is about no longer shrinking. It is about no longer apologizing for your strengths or hiding your light. It is about no longer waiting for others to give you permission to grow, to rise, to evolve. You may discover that when you stand more firmly in your truth, some relationships will naturally fall away, not because you are rejecting anyone, but because you are no longer willing to play the same small role. And you may also discover that some relationships can actually deepen, that when you show up more fully, you invite others to rise alongside you. We often underestimate how much power we have simply by changing how we show up. When you stop feeding the patterns that keep you small, when you start honoring your own journey with courage and integrity, the entire field of your life begins to shift. Some people will resist this, some will cheer you on, but most importantly, you will begin to feel more alive, more aligned, more at peace with yourself. Do not be afraid of walking alone for a time if that is what your growth requires. Loneliness is not the same as aloneness. Aloneness is a profound space where you meet yourself, where you strengthen your own roots, where you discover that you are already whole. And from that wholeness, you begin to attract connections that are based not on need or fear, but on true resonance, on shared growth, on mutual respect. Remember, you are not here to live according to someone else's small vision of who you should be. You are here to unfold the immense potential that exists within you, not just for yourself, but for the world. Every step you take toward your own liberation becomes an offering to the collective, because when one person rises, they create a space where others can rise too. So let this be a gentle but firm reminder: you are not too much, you are not too strong, you are not too ambitious, too creative, too curious, too passionate, too wise. You are exactly what you need to be. But you must stop asking for permission to be fully yourself. You must stop choosing relationships that only tolerate a watered-down version of you. You must surround yourself with people who see your fire and say, "Yes, burn brighter." This is not arrogance. This is not selfishness. This is the humble recognition that life is precious, that time is limited, and that you have been given certain gifts, certain dreams, certain longings for a reason. Honor them. Nourish them, protect them, and above all, live them. In the end, the real measure of your relationships is simple. Do they help you remember who you truly are? Do they help you become more free, more loving, more alive? Or do they bind you in fear, in smallness, in false comfort? Choose wisely, choose bravely, and remember always, the path to your fullest self begins within you, but you do not have to walk it alone. The right companions, the right community, the right love will meet you on that path, not to hold you back, but to walk beside you as you rise.